Hello and welcome to another episode of Indie Spotlight. Oh, glasses. I'm your host, Zaymot, also known as Trevor on social media. You can find links to all of that in the video description below, including ways to keep this channel as ad-free as possible. The only ad you're going to see on this channel currently that's mine would be from thebeardstruggle.com. And this is the ad. Just check it out. If you want the same beard products I use on this beard, check out thebeardstruggle.com. Save 15% using my code BeardWizard99. Also check out our Subscribestar page. There are rewards for subscribers, including an exclusive serial story, a series that I write that only gets published to Subscribestar for our subscribers there. More rewards coming as we get some more merchandise and stuff going. And then that, finally, go to the merch store. You can get your own Frags Beer hats and hoodies and some of the new stuff, including a Grey Raven Tavern and Meadery shirts and hoodies and all that good stuff. The hardest to find tavern in the world. Guarantee you can't find it. Anyway, we're taking a look today at Apocalypse from Dax. We listened to his Joker last week. I really liked it. Interesting. He's got an interesting sound. He's got a really cool, unique sort of mix of rap and you know, a little bit of soul, a little bit of R&B feel, and a little bit of almost a rock feel in a sense. But you'll see what I mean with this song, Apocalypse. I have listened to it before. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you're here, if you're watching the live stream. I love talking to you guys. If you're watching the recording, be sure to share it out. Subscribe to the channel. When I get to 200 subscribers, I'm giving away 2 free audiobooks, 3 at 300, 4 at 400, so on until we get to 1,000. So get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away 10 free audiobooks. When we get there, we'll talk about how that works. Anyway, we're going to jump into the video. This is Apocalypse from Dax. Obviously, I'm going to pause at the appropriate moments, and we will see what this is all about. You guys, thank you for joining me.
See violence, oh, and I hear sirens, nowhere to go, nowhere to run. They gave me the shot, they took away guns, nothing to eat, we can't go to sleep, we're stuck in our homes, they're flooding the streets, everyone's watching, they glued to their screens, misinformation like every week. Apocalypse, this ain't no game.
It's an interesting lead in. I'm going to back it up just a smidge so that we can start back there. So what a face too. So yeah, it's a conversation that's pretty topical today. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there, but there are also a lot of legitimate worries. There's a lot of legitimate worries about your government, obviously, about vaccines, about big companies producing. Like, it's an interesting view of the world when you see people that were just a few months or a couple years ago, where people were so hard against big corporations and you can't trust big corporations, and now we have to trust big corporations in order to survive, right? Because they're the ones making our vaccine. And, you know, just a couple of years ago, you can't trust government. You know, you really can't. You got to be skeptical of your government. But now we have to trust our government when they want to develop, you know, an app to track us when we get our vaccine. And I'm not saying that all of these worries are going to come to fruition, but when somebody has a legitimate worry about their government or about big business or about something being injected into their body that we don't know a whole lot about, there's nothing wrong with being worried about that. And the fact that people won't answer those questions, and rather than discuss it, all we do is fight about it, that makes it even worse. Like, you delegitimize people's legitimate fears by calling them names or say, "Oh, you just want people to die," or whatever it is that people are using that argument for. Like, if this were 6 months ago and the government 6 months ago was proposing this, the people that are all for it, I guarantee you, would be 100% against it. If this vaccine came out last year and they were talking about apps on our phones to track us and things like that, the people who are currently so for this would be completely against it. So it's interesting watching that conversation from a sort of central perspective and be like, I think there's a little bit of truth to all of it, but watching the people fight back and forth who would have been fighting differently 6 months or a year ago is kind of interesting, especially being a writer of dystopian fiction. It's interesting. It really is.
Yeah. This ain't no game but to choose your side and protect your soul. Devil is lurking, he's looking for victims and power to use and regain his control. No one to trust, everybody's corrupt. End of the world really feels like it's close. Feels like it's Truman and I'm just a person they watching at home on an evening show. Fake information and all of it's free. Dumb politicians, corrupt police, tanks and riots, bodies piling, smell of corruption is flooding the streets. Children are crying, there's nothing to eat. Left and right, there's no in between. Who do we trust when it's us against us and we'll do anything just to get a retweet? 2021, no joke, boy, you better stay inside, pray to God.
Who do you trust when it's us against us? This came out, a couple months ago, I think, and with the recent release of whatever Lil Nas X or whatever the hell is his name. I don't know his name. I don't know anything about him. But he releases a video about hell and the devil, and here this is another artist referencing it in a different light, referencing the devil and sort of the fear and who do we trust, and when we're pitted against each other by the media or by politicians or whoever it is pitting us against each other, who do you trust? Because you don't know who has your back, and we should have each other's backs, but we don't. It's kind of disturbing that way.
No joke, boy, you better stay inside, pray to God during these times. Let me give you some advice at night, stay inside your life for the price they will buy. Everybody's trying to fight, gas prices spike, no bus can't walk, we can't drive. Everybody's on this trip, trying to get ahead, so I'm trucking up this peace sign. Let me get into the rail. They don't care how you feel, you're just an animal and you're their next meal. There's no peace, I pray to God on my knees, the gates of hell are open, we can all feel that heat. I remember when everything changed, when technology went from innate to the primary poison of all of our brains. We've been programmed to think that we need it, we slave and we worship it every day, and in every way we becoming the robot they gave us and losing humanity's way. I see violence.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that, especially for I've heard a couple of other artists really go into how technology and social media and things are damaging us. And it's interesting because they rely on, just like I rely on social media to get my product out there, to get my writing out there, and they rely on it to get their music out there. They rely on YouTube and Spotify and everything else. There's a fine line between using this as a tool. It's just like anything else, just like any other tool. There's a point where that tool becomes dangerous. There's a point where that tool becomes detrimental to your health. So it's always interesting to me to see artists like this talk about that. And he's right in a way that we took it from something that should have just been used as a tool. It should have just been used to help us and to learn from and to find information, and we've made it something that we worship, that we're stuck with. We have to use it all the time. We rely on social media and the internet so much now. Without it, literally, society would, if the internet crumbled, like if it were even possible, which it really isn't. But if something were to happen to eliminate our ability to use the internet tomorrow, especially knowing the field I work in my day job, it would be devastating. It would be absolutely devastating to society. And I remember I grew up in a time before that. I grew up before the internet was a thing. We didn't have the internet in my home until, probably till I was 20, definitely not through high school. So it's kind of interesting to see how much has changed and how dependent we've become on that kind of stuff recently.
I see violence, so much violence I see, and I hear sirens. Nowhere to go, nowhere to run. They gave me the shot, they took away guns, nothing to eat. We can't go to sleep, we're stuck in our homes, they're flooding the streets. Everyone's watching, they glued to their screens. Misinformation like every week. Apocalypse. If you're a soldier, stand up, stay 10 toes. Look him in the face, don't you fold. They're watching your moves, I hope that you know. People are dying because of religion, selling sex, selling children, genocides, waters rise, homicides, missing women. Rich got richer, what do they do, man? They cut out the small business. Fake statistics, flood the streets with drugs and filled up all the prisons. They're shifting the energy, you can't see the enemy. God is returning, they don't gotta say it, the climate's been telling me. From the way they abusing the teaching and pushing religion like it's an accessory. Pick a side, it's the darker the light and the scariest times that we've seen in the century. Violence, so much violence I see, and I hear sirens. Nowhere to go, nowhere to run. They gave me the shot, they took away guns, nothing to eat. We can't go to sleep, we're stuck in our homes, they're flooding the streets. Everyone's watching, they glued to their screens. Misinformation like every week. Apocalypse. Put your lighters up. Put your lighters up. Put your lighters up. Apocalypse.
Very interesting. So yeah, very interesting track from Dax. A lot in there that's very topical. Again, a lot of people have legitimate concerns. A lot of people have legitimate fears. I don't know how any logical person can look, especially here in the United States, how any logical person can look at the history of our government and the history of our country and not be skeptical anytime the government tries to create something new or tries to push out some new thing. We have a very terrible history, especially our government has a very, very terrible history. While America has done a lot of great things, we have done a lot of awful things too. And anybody who denies that is just ridiculous. Like, you can't look at the history of our country and not say, yeah, there were times where we really screwed up, huge, like big time fucked up. But there's been a lot of times where we did some great things. And when people have concerns about the government, it doesn't mean that they're crazy or they're conspiracy theorists. It doesn't take much looking to find reasons to not trust. So when he talks about taking away, they gave him a shot, they took away the guns, there's nothing to eat, they're flooding the streets, like those are all things that are real. Those things are really, they're trying to take away guns. It's harder for people to get by when it comes to, like, poor people are struggling harder than ever, while not everybody, like, yeah, sure, we are better off today than we were 100 years ago, but poor people are still struggling. There are still people who are homeless. There are still people who don't have enough to eat. There are still children who do not eat 3 meals a day. And to deny all that stuff is just brainless. like to deny that, and to deny that the source of a lot of those problems is our own government. Like that's just being blind. You know, there are a lot of things that could be fixed if we change the way we structured, if we change the way the government spent money, if we change the where our tax money went to. There's a lot of things that could be fixed that people just don't seem to want to fix. So there's some legitimate concerns there, and I think downplaying people's concerns is foolish. It's faulty, and again, it pits us against each other, which doesn't do anybody any good. So anyway, great one from Dax. Thank you so much for that song, Dax. Subscribe to my channel and then go over to Dax's channel and subscribe to his channel. I'm going to post a link to this original video in the description below, as well as Dax's website as usual. Come by for more Indie Spotlight. If there is anything that you want to see, any indie artists that I have not featured, I have a list. I have a running list, but if you haven't seen him yet, drop me a comment. I may not have them yet on my list. Trying to find indie music, indie artists, indie creators, writers, comics, movies, whatever I can find to feature on this show and to share it with you guys. So find ways to do other format. Music is obviously the easiest because it's a shorter format. But I will figure out how to do the rest. Eventually, we will have more stuff on this show, and I will be featuring more artists and more music and more movies. So anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you were here, please subscribe. If you're watching the recording, please subscribe and share it out. I appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. You guys have a great one. Much love.